So, hey there, this is the One Boom, and yesterday I watched through my video that I did about the Black Ops 4 beta. My sort of day one impressions video, and I was going to react to it, but it's not a very good video. It's not very entertaining. I basically complain about specialists for like 15 minutes with some other things thrown in there, but I wanted to kind of compare my opinions from the Black Ops 4 beta to the Modern Warfare beta. And don't worry guys, you don't need to tell me that Black Ops 4 is a completely different style of shooter in general, but just a completely different style of Call of Duty. This isn't a detailed frame-by-frame comparison, and the gameplay you're seeing here is from the Black Ops 4 beta, and it's not going to be great quality because I had to download it from my video I did on it. I don't have any of the beta gameplay left over, so I downloaded my video on it. And this is back when I was recording in 720p low bitrate and uploading in 720p low bitrate, so it's not great. But yeah, we're not comparing lighting, graphics, weapon sounds, and stuff. I mean, if we were going to, Modern Warfare would just win, but we're not comparing that. We're just talking about how I felt during the Black Ops 4 beta and the Black Ops 4 launch, and then how I'm feeling about Modern Warfare and how I felt about Modern Warfare's beta. So, that out of the way, let's just talk about this for a bit. So during Black Ops 4, the first thing that stood out to me immediately was the longer time to kill. Now, during my videos back then, I was saying it was pretty inconsistent, but that I slowly kind of came around to it. And my current opinion now is that I've come around to it. Black Ops 4, for all of the weird changes it did to the Call of Duty formula and unnecessary tweaks it did to the gameplay loop, I think that the longer time to kill is one of the better things that they did. It made the game stand out more, it changed the way gunfights play out, and it made the game a little bit more interesting and in some ways more satisfying. Some people did not take kindly to the time to kill change, but they were pretty dramatic about it, and I couldn't really take a lot of them seriously. People described it as being Halo-esque and taking way too many shots to kill, and I think that's just a little dramatic. Maybe it's meant to be, but it's really not that bad. It honestly just felt like instead of dying or killing in 4 milliseconds, you died or killed in about 5 or 6 milliseconds. It was still a fast-paced, fast time to kill shooter. But we'll get back to like time to kill and weapon balance later, but when it came to Modern Warfare and how I felt about that game's time to kill and gunplay, completely different experience. The time to kill is more in line with previous Call of Duty games like Modern Warfare, Call of Duty Ghosts. It felt fast and snappy. But there's a decent amount of flinch when you get shot, and there is a good amount of recoil and drift. And that gave me really, and maybe I'm wrong, or you can just disagree with me, but it gave me Black Ops 1 vibes. Not in terms of time to kill, but in terms of weapon handling and recoil. The guns kick a lot more and they sway a lot more than games like Modern Warfare 2 or Call of Duty World War II, where guns kind of feel pretty stagnant while you're firing them. There's a lot of rotation and muzzle drift and kick and visual screen shake going on here, and then you combine that with that Modern Warfare 2-esque, or Modern Warfare 3 and Ghost as well, that kind of high DPS, low TTK type feeling weapons. It felt really good. I felt like every weapon was viable because I could kill very, very quickly. Now, some guns had a steeper learning curve and they needed more attachments. I believe the Odin and the FAMAS and the AK-47 required a good amount of attachments for me to do consistently well with them, whereas the M4 and M13 felt versatile right out of the box. The MP5 and MP7 and AUG, though, felt really good. I didn't have a problem with any of them. I feel like the AUG might need a buff, but it's also very accurate at long range, and maybe it doesn't need one because of that. It's supposed to be more of a hybrid weapon. My only gripe with the Modern Warfare weapons is that sometimes I felt like they added too much recoil just for the sake of making the guns look more alive. Like, I felt like the shotgun felt a little bit wobbly in my character's hand. The pump action shotgun I had access to, I didn't use the over-under barrel that much. And the M14 kicked way more than I think an M14 should. As far as I know, and this is just from my dad's perspective, using one of the original M14s in Vietnam, which isn't a direct comparison, he never described it as kicking very hard. In fact, the drill instructor, he said, actually pressed it against his crotch at the gun range and fired to show the lack of recoil. He described it as a heavy, easy to control, accurate rifle. And maybe with certain attachments, the M14 will feel like that, but I don't know. It kicked a lot in the beta. Maybe that was to balance the one-shot headshot, and that is worth noting that guns like the Desert Eagle, the 357, the lever action, and I think all of the marksman rifles are going to one-shot headshot all the time. So maybe they need to have weird fire rates and high recoil to make them a more skill-based weapon instead of them just being a spammy semi-auto. But for the love of God, Infinity Ward, put the Kar 98 in the sniper category and the Dragunov in the marksman rifle category. It just makes more sense that way. I'll sleep better. Now, my big point of complaint in Black Ops 4's beta was the specialists, and they're still one of my biggest complaints about Black Ops 4. I feel like they were underdeveloped, easy, I want to kill everybody buttons that were designed to give everybody, no matter their skill level, the chance at quad feeds and triple kills. Instead of a well-placed frag grenade, which takes more skill than a gravity slam, you can just, well, go gravity slam somebody. People camping with Torque's barbed wire and heat shield just got so old so fast. There was some counterplay, like if someone was camping with the microwave shield and the barbed wire and you had the war machine, you could blow them up, but more likely you're just going to use the war machine to blast people off of a hard point or off of a objective of some kind. You're going to use it to take people out of their spawn. Instead of throwing a grenade or a C4 or placing a claymore in the right spot, you can just run into a room as ruin and blow everything up. Throw your secret drone at somebody to basically just win the gunfight by default if it's a one-on-one situation. Use your Tempest to fuck somebody and everybody else around them. Like, that kind of stuff got so tiring just in the beta, and into the launch of the game, and even now, I still hate the specialists even more because they buffed the Tempest. They buffed the Purifier as well. In the beta, you had to hold the Purifier on somebody to burn them alive, whereas they buffed it so you just need to lick them with the fire and it kills them. And then with Spectre and Zero, I just got so tired of BS deaths, I swear to God. I hated dying indirectly because of these things or directly because of these things, and it just ruined gunfights. It made me, I made a video back in the day, it demotivated me to get better at the game because I felt like every time I round a corner, I don't know when the next shoe is going to drop. I felt like there was no more skill gap. I didn't know when my entire streak was going to be ended, so why go for high streaks if it's just going to get ended by a trip mine, or the guard dog, or a war machine, or a gravity slam? And that's not just being dramatic, that's just what happened. Anyway, I think it's funny that in Black Ops 4's beta, while I was playing it, I was hoping that, they're like, hey, it'd be nice if the specialists were just throwing down boxes of ammo or deployable cover or something simple like that. I believe in private, I even talked to my friends, like, what if the specialist abilities, like one of them is like a little drone you can pilot and it can spot people or something along those lines. Things that don't just outright get people killed and they have to be used by a player tactically and can be easily countered. And that's what we have in Modern Warfare. The field upgrades are pretty basic, other than stuff like stopping power rounds, tac insert, dead silence, a recon drone, a deployable shield, an ammo box, things that don't just outright kill you. Now, stopping power rounds might create inconsistencies with certain weapons. I'm gonna not like getting one-shotted in the chest by a deagle because somebody had stopping power rounds. If that ends my streak, I'm gonna be mad. But of course, that's not equivalent at all to somebody using Seraph's hand cannon, for instance. Alright, so I have one more point to talk about, and then I'm just going to do a little bit of rambling and then end the video here. When Black Ops 4 added the bare bones playlist and got rid of specialists and pieces of equipment like armor or stem shot or acoustic sensor, and the game played more along the lines of Black Ops 2 as compared to Black Ops 4 itself, I enjoyed it for a while until more cracks in the game design started to show. We learned that Black Ops 4 had the worst concussion grenades I'd ever dealt with in an FPS game before, not just slowing down your screen and making things blurry, but completely removing your ability to fight back in most cases. We learned that sniper rifles do not balance well if they are still one-shot kills, and my assault rifle takes an extra shot to kill. Basically, you're playing Black Ops 2, but your AR is nerfed and the sniper rifles aren't. Other than the lack of aim assist on console, which PC players did not get the courtesy of, button barebones snipers reigned supreme, and I was forced to use smoke grenades if there was a good quickscoper on the enemy team because I wanted to just, block off their line of sight and get close to them. Nothing was more frustrating than putting 3 bullets into somebody and then just getting nailed by a one-shot kill sniper rifle. Also, shotguns were very clearly hard for them to balance. They didn't know how much damage to give them and not give them. They felt inconsistent, and then you could put certain attachments on them, and then they felt a little too consistent. In my opinion, it was a bona fide mess, and I resent them for doing it. More so, I resent their balance of weapons like the Rampart, the Titan, and the Augur, because they clearly weren't playing the game at the time. The Augur out-damaged and out-DPS things so good in Black Ops 4, and then they were like, okay, we're going to make it more accurate. They nerfed the Titan, but not well enough to make a difference. I still got melted cross-map by it lots of times, and the Rampart, which originally was a high damage, high recoil gun, went to being a high damage, moderate recoil gun, and just with high caliber 1 and 2 ruled the roost. Because of the increased time to kill, anything that was pumping out high DPS was going to win, and that was the Augur, the Rampart, the Titan, and for a while it was the Spitfire. I'm not saying no other weapons were useful, because one of my favorite weapons in Black Ops 4 is by far the KN-57. But those imbalances showed themselves tenfold within the Bare Bones playlist. Now in the Modern Warfare beta, a lot of people complained about the M4 and considered it to be overpowered, but in my opinion it was just versatile and easy to use and not in any way overpowered. I felt like the M13 was a lot better, and I felt like the MP5 was incredibly slept on and nobody complained about it. The MP5 gave me some Modern Warfare 2 UMP vibes, and it was a little bit rough. But for the most part, this is what happens when you have a faster time to kill. Weapons don't really show their overpoweredness as easily. All I can really say about it is that whatever weapon is the most accurate is going to end up being what rules the game, and you can see that in Modern Warfare 2 and 3 with the ACR. And I think we're gonna see that in Modern Warfare with the M13, but I'm not sure. I felt like everything was very usable. I never felt completely outgunned, and the times that I did, looking back on the footage later on, I realized that I had kind of jumped the gun too much, and it's just kind of hard to get a feel for weapon balance in a beta, and that's why I didn't talk about it much in Black Ops 4, except in the context of the time to kill, which was of course very different. In the end, we're gonna have to wait and see with what happens in regards to Modern Warfare's weapon balance. Nothing was egregious to me in the beta, but I do think some things are gonna need little tweaks here and there. My favorite thing about the Modern Warfare beta, though, that I can say is that I wasn't getting quickscoped, and that was something that I was afraid of. I don't want a year of getting quickscoped, and it looks like I might be scot-free, but we'll have to see what happens when we get the full game and every weapon at our disposal. Now, if you're gonna let me ramble for a second, let me just say that I want to point out Black Ops 4's maps did nothing for me. They took up very little conversation on my channel, although I liked some things that were interactable and had cool little hiding spots, like the vent on that one map that I can't remember the name of, the little platform you can raise and lower on the other map I can't remember the name of, the secret doorway passageway area on Hacienda. You press the button on the wall, the wall actually opens up and it's actually a little hallway. Stuff like that was so cool. I wish the game would have focused more on that. If every map had its own little gimmicks, dynamic elements, day and night cycles, weather, something to make the game feel less repetitive. And if the game would have launched with bare bones, that would have been great. And also, if they just would have maybe reversed their time to kill decision, balance would have fallen more in place because certain weapons were just head and shoulders above. Because they just pumped out more damage. They just pumped out more damage than the gun you were using, and so you lost. And that just kind of happens less in fast TTK games. Fast TTK games kind of shrink the skill gap, but it makes things a lot easier to balance. That's why Halo is so impressive. It has a long time to kill, not a longer time to kill than previous Call of Duty games. I mean, like, Halo has a long time to kill. And so every balance decision needs to be heavily thought out, because the moment you have something that just outright kills somebody, you have a problem. Unless it's a power weapon, people have to fight over. As soon as you raise a player's base health, weapon balance changes. And Treyarch wanted more inconsistencies like body armor and stem shot, so sometimes you'd shoot at somebody, they'd go behind a small piece of cover, and by the time they come out from around it, they're completely healed because of how fast stem shot worked. This made stem shot a crutch, and then it also had that awesome body armor, which occasionally made somebody take one extra bullet, which could throw you off. Unless you had FMJ, but then do you really want to have to run FMJ on all your guns to make sure you get a consistent time to kill on everybody? High caliber 1 and 2 created inconsistencies in headshot and body shot damage, and so Black Ops 4 in my opinion only felt competitive if I was using very specific setups with very specific weapons. I did not feel that way at all in Modern Warfare. The game feels a lot more in my hands and a lot less about countering bullshit. Now, at the same time, Modern Warfare can have that same issue of me needing to make every class capable of countering bullshit. Every class has EOD, every class has Battle Hardened, every class has Ghost, because if you don't, you are screwed. I don't know if I want a game like that. That hijacks customization, because some things just have definitive counters, unlike campers, which can be countered in a variety of different ways, and there's a lot of variables there, which is why it's a false equivalency. But anyway, the thing is, I don't want to spend a year countering claymores, frag grenades, simtexes, concussions, because even though that's not as bad as having to counter, seeker drones and war machine and cluster grenades and 9-bangs, it's not as bad as that, but relative to Modern Warfare itself, it can become the thing that pisses me off the most per play session, because during the Modern Warfare beta, that is what pissed me off the most per play session. It wasn't campers, it wasn't somebody using a certain gun, it wasn't me not knowing the maps, although that could get annoying. It really came down to how many times I was getting blown up, gassed, flashed, stunned, because nobody's incentivized to maybe not run that. So everyone you go up against has a 50-50 chance of having a piece of lethal or tactical equipment still in their inventory. I think Modern Warfare is on the right track when it comes to doing what works, but I hope they kinda learned from previous Call of Duty games. As a matter of fact, you did have an incentive to not run a concussion or a frag grenade or a Molotov in Black Ops 4, because you had to give something up to run it. So you had an incentive to not do that when you played the bare bones mode. Not everybody had a piece of lethal or tactical equipment. So even though they were incredibly frustrating to get hit by, not everybody had them. And I believe that is important to point out. Thank you guys so much for watching this longer video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like. And yeah, I do more of these sort of off the cuff, hey, here's 2 things and let's talk about them type of videos. So if you like that, go ahead and subscribe. And if you want to see when I go live, hit the bell icon, because I live stream games like Modern Warfare when it comes out. I'm gonna live stream Halo Reach. When it comes to the MCC, I play Warframe a lot. So yeah, go ahead and hit me up in the comment section. What did you love and hate about the Modern Warfare beta? And how does it relate to Black Ops 4 and how you felt during that game's beta and early launch? Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye. But I think there's too many things. There's too many abilities and gimmicks and goofs and gaffs and gadgets. And I love gadgets. You guys know, like, a big reason I like Battlefield 4 is just all of the toys you get to play with in Battlefield 4. All the gadgets and